Do you want to play a deck that can win games insanely fast? Do you want to play with one of the most fun leaders within Star Wars Unlimited? And do you want to play a deck that swarms with a unit after unit after unit after unit until you win on your 5 resources? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then this Ahsoka Tano Snips deck is just for you. But very quickly, before we jump into the leader, the base, and how this deck likes to play, if you enjoy StarWarsUnlimited content, then make sure to like and subscribe because there's going to be plenty more deck builds coming, gameplay videos, box openings, and I really don't want you guys to miss out. With that being said, let's crack on with this deck. Kicking things off for this deck is, well, of course, the leader herself, and that is Ahsoka Tano Snips. She's got an ability which is Coordinate. You can exhaust her, and if you do, you can attack for unit, it gets +1 for this attack. That ability allows us to be hyper aggressive and put absurd amount of damage out at a stupidly fast pace. However, some of you may be thinking, what actually is Coordinate? Coordinate is an ability that means this ability here can't activate unless we've got at least 3 units on the field. So if this is our field right now, this ability is live. We can do the exhaust, attack, this gets the +1 from Ahsoka. Of course, it means to have Coordinate live, we need to play loads of units out, but that is fine because this deck absolutely swarms the board with a ridiculous amount of units, so our Coordinate is literally always online. When Ahsoka deploys, she comes out on 5, she is a 3 attack, 6 health with Coordinate, this unit gets +2 attack. Let me tell you right now, she is almost always going to get that +2, and with a +1 from an arena, she is a 6 attack, 6 health leader that's coming out on 5 resources. It's insane. One thing that's really nice about her ability as well is that right now our Coordinate is not active, so we can't use her ability. However, when you deploy her, the Coordinate is now live because it also includes herself. So even if you've just got 2 units on the field, she can be the 3rd. Honestly, it's absolutely absurd how consistently you can get her that +2. And because of that, her just suddenly coming out on 5 resources and swinging for 5, 6, 7 or 8 damage is just the reason why we can win so fast. There are just so many decks within this game that just aren't ready to deal with her when she deploys and gets that insane attack boost. For our base, we've gone for the 26 health Petronaki Arena. So this one's got an ability which reads, each leader unit you control gets +1. That is the reason why our Ahsoka is pretty much always coming out at a 6/6. I personally found this arena is gorgeous, and that extra 1 damage is actually really important and can see you out many games. However, if you want to try out maybe the 28 force base, you can do that. Or if you want to try out just the 30 health base, you can also do that too. I just found the 26 with the aggression just so much fun. That is it for our leader and our base. Let's crack on to these ground units. Kicking things off for these ground units is a 1 cost, and it's a card you've already seen, that is free Soldier of the 501st. This card only being a 1 cost is really important for this deck, because it's one of the reasons we can just spam out loads of units, and not just that, it can actually put out a lot of damage. So it's 1 attack, 3 health, that 3 health is really important, but even though it's only got 1 attack, it has got raid 1, meaning it's always going to hit for 2, and if you activate it with Ahsoka, you've got a 1 cost card hidden for free, and got 3 health. I absolutely love this card within this deck, and if I've got my turn 1 hand, I almost never resource it. So if I'm not playing out turn 1, at least going into turn 2, I could probably play a 2 cost and then this card on top of that. Moving on to our next 1 cost ground unit, and it's a card you want to run free of, that is free BD1. Honestly, it's like this card is made for this deck. It's perfect for it. So it's 1 attack, 3 health, but it's got hidden, and hidden means when you play it, it can't be attacked that phase. Straight away, that means our Coordinate is going to come online because it's another unit they can't hit unless they do a bit of removal on it. But more importantly, BD's ability reads, when played, choose another friendly unit. While this unit is in play, that chosen unit gets +1 attack and Saboteur. So if in our turn 1 we go Soldier of the 501st, then we go BD on top of that, you've got a 2/3 Soldier that if you activate Ahsoka with, will end up hitting for 4 damage. Not just that, this deck really struggles against Sentinels, so that Saboteur is insanely good, especially on your Ahsoka deploy turn. If you can deploy Ahsoka, put BD out, give her that Saboteur, swing for an insane amount of damage. That is actually it for our 1-cost ground units. So the reason we've lost cards like Greedo, which is free attack 1 health, as good as they are, I just found in the current state of the game, they've kind of been power crept out because they got free attack, 1 health, meaning if they play like a Yaddle, which is 2 attack, 4 health, they can defeat our Greedo and survive. And I just felt like through that interaction, we were always down and we were struggling a lot. So I always went for the 1-cost units that can actually survive if they decide to attack into them. And I found it massively helped this deck. Talking of survivability is our next card, which is a 2-cost, and you want to run 2 of these. That's 2 L3 37. So L3 has 2 attack, 2 health, and reads, when played, you may rescue a captured card. If you don't, give a shield token to this unit. So 99% of the time, L3 is just going to come out with a shield. That alone is insanely good for us, because it means, well, L3 can't be taken down easily, meaning our coordinate can come online. But the reason I went for L3 instead of something like Crafty Smuggler is because L3 can be smuggled. So for 4 cost, you can smuggle her out of your resources. The reason that is so good is because we're playing out so many cards, we actually go through our hands really fast. And because of that, we can struggle to play out units. So being able to smuggle out something like L3 is really powerful. Especially with all the force throws going around, being able to extend your hand into the resources is just so nice for this deck. And worst case scenario, player out, you've got a 2-2 shield, have fun getting through that. Moving on to our next 2-costing ground unit is a card I still think is insanely strong for this deck, and still a card I think slept on, is Leia Organa. So you want to run 3 Leias, she's got 2 attack, 2 health, but this is where her power is. When played, either ready a resource or exhaust a unit. 99.9999999% of the time, you're gonna exhaust a unit. But as you just play her out on 2 and then hit something like a leader or a really high costing card is so powerful. The amount of times I have played her out on a turn when my Ahsoka's also deployed and just exhausted a powerful unit, meaning our Ahsoka can survive and tend to hit for game. Or if you really need to, you can actually just ready up another one of your resources, meaning you can play out another unit, meaning your coordinate is pretty much always going to be aligned again. And rounding up our 2-cost ground units is the epitome of aggression cards. That is 3 Sabine Wrens. I absolutely love this card, and especially within this deck. And even though it's a set 1 turn 1 play, it's still super strong. So it's 2 attack, 3 health, which reads, while there are at least 3 aspects on other friendly units, this unit can't be attacked. So yet again, it's like another hidden for us. But more importantly, on attack, you may deal 1 damage to the defender or to a base. Meaning this card's going to always hit for free, so it's a 3/3. But the reason that on attack is beautiful is because if you're playing a force deck or something else with a shield, maybe they play Secretive Sage, maybe they play their own L337, that on attack happens first, you ping the shield, and the attack goes through, defeats them, and your Sabine survives. Not just that, if you're activating her with Ahsoka's ability, that's a nice 4 attack you've got there for a 2-costing unit. I love Sabine. The amount of times I played her out turn 1, and then in my turn 2 I've gone like Soldier of the 501st, and then maybe an L3, meaning Ahsoka's live, activate Sabine, hit for 4, boom, 4 damage into base, 3 units, good luck into their next turn. Moving on to our 3-costing ground units, we're going to run 2 of these, and that's 2 Jesse. So this card I did run out of 3 of in the old build, however I just found the battle droids he gives them came quite annoying, and due to that I've dropped into a 2, but do not be fooled, this card is still super strong within this deck. So Jesse is 4 attack, 4 health with Raid 1. Yes, Raid 1 is a 3-costing card that's hitting for 5. And he's also got, when played, an opponent creates 2 battle droid tokens, meaning they get, well, 2 droids. Those 2 droids can be super annoying, so don't just think, 2 droids, that's okay. They can really hurt. However, this card's just so strong still. If you activate with Ahsoka, he hits for 6. Yes, 6. Not just that, if you've got him deployed on your 2nd turn, into the 3rd and 4th turn, pretty much all the leaders deploy at that stage in the game, he can one-shot, especially with Ahsoka's ability. So they must really think, how do they take Jesse out? And if they just leave him, he will single-handedly win you a game by just hitting over and over again for an insane amount of damage. But through playtesting this deck, there's other 3-costing cards I want to get out more, and like I said, those battle droids can really come back to bite you in the bum. Our next free costing ground unit is free Cassian Andor. Yet again, another card that's epitome of aggression decks. So he's free attack, 5 health, so super solid stat line. But the reason he's so good is here. Smuggle. He costs 5 to smuggle out. However, when played using Smuggle, you can ready this unit. The amount of times in this deck, I've got them to like 1, maybe 2 damage left, and they've just passed because obviously I've got my Ahsoka ready, good to go. They've just smuggled out Cassian, boom, there's game. And absolutely worst case scenario, you just have to play him out from your hand. You've got a unit with 5 health, so because of that, he will stick around, and you know what that means, our coordinate will be coming online. Moving on to our 4 costing ground units is free Ahsoka Thanos. So this was actually a really hard choice in this deck, because this spot belonged to heavy for the longest time, because he has the coordinate, hits for 6, super strong, right? But the thing that swayed my decision was actually Ahsoka's Padawan lightsaber, because if you don't know, if you attach this to a unit called Ahsoka, you can attack immediately. So having the Ahsoka leader and an Ahsoka unit you can do that to is just so strong, I had to use it. Not just that, this Ahsoka card has an insane ability. But first of all, she's free attack, 5 health, so another solid stat line, meaning she'll stick around. And when played, an opponent discards a card from their hand. If it's a unit, you may exhaust a unit. So it's a bit of disruption, solid stat line, and get synergy of upgrades. Why wouldn't you run it? Not just that, I actually found Ahsoka stuck around more than heavy, just because that 1 extra health. You'd be surprised how having 5 instead of 4 health is really nice for us. However, if you did drop Ahsoka for the heavies, I wouldn't blame you. He's still a super strong card, and a card I probably would like to see in this deck again at some point. And rounding up our ground units is a 5 cost, and probably still the best coordinate card in this game. That is free Plo Koons. So he's free attack, 6 health with ambush. You may be thinking, oh, is that it? He's alright. Yeah, he is. However, his coordinate ability is insane. So it's coordinate, raid, free. So yes, you can have a 6 ambushing card on 5 resources. It's so good, especially in a deck that's basically always got coordinate online, because it basically means Plo Koon is always going to hit for 6. Not just that, he tends to survive the ambush, meaning the next turn you've then got him to hit for 6 again. He will swing you games, and once you've got Ahsoka and Plo out, it's just, that's 12 damage between them. Good luck. That is it for our ground units. Let's move on to the space units. Kicking things off, the space units is a 1 cost, and it's still one of my favourite cards in this deck. That is free Cartel Turncoats. So this card is 2 attack, 3 health with bounty. So if they defeat it, they get to draw a card, which is a little bit annoying. But to be honest, for 1 cost, having that stat line, yes please. Especially if you're playing against a force deck, playing this out into space, playing out BD and boosting this to a 3/3, and then getting another boost of Ahsoka, it will single-handedly get them to like 10-15 damage before they even know what's happened. And similar to all the other 1 cost cards, it's really, really nice to have in this deck just to help us get that coordinate online. Moving on to our 2 costing space units, we got free N1 Starfighter. So this card is free attack, 2 health. Simple as that. Super solid stat line for a space unit. That free attack is really important because it means if they ambush something out on their second turn, this will defeat it too, because the main issue I have with a lot of space units turn 1 players, only got 2 attack, meaning if they ambush a blue leader, the blue leader to defeat it and survive, but this will take it down. Not just that, pairing him with BD, pairing him with Ahsoka, means he will start hitting for 4, maybe 5 damage. This will put so much pressure onto them. Moving on to our 3 cotton space units is probably the best addition to this deck. And it actually came out in the same set as Ahsoka, and I don't know why I didn't put it in the original build. But since putting it into this build, my word has it overperformed. That is free Sanctioner's Shuttle. I think we all know how good this card is from all those Darth Vader decks going about. So it's 2 attack, 3 health with coordinate, meaning if you've got 3 or more units on the field, it gets this ability. When played, this unit captures an enemy non-leader unit that costs 3 or less. That is so disruptive to the opposition, it's insane. Especially in a deck like this, it's being hyper aggressive. If we're able to just swing loads of damage and steal their things off the board so they can't get rid of our units, meaning our coordinate is always online, I can't even begin to tell you how good that is. There's no better feeling than turn 1 they play a force unit, they put a lightsaber onto it, and you just go Sanctioner's Shuttle, capture, Thank you. Or another one of my favourites, you're playing a space deck, a pilot deck, they pilot a spacecraft, you're just like, thank you, I'll capture that, defeat that pilot. And rounding up our space units is another free cost, that is free Millennium Falcon. This card is just absurdly strong, especially within this deck. So it's 3 attack, 4 health, that reads, this unit enters play ready. Due to it coming out ready, it means if we've had 2 units out on turn 1, boom, coordinates online, you can attack with both of them, activate Ahsoka, hit for another 4 damage, so that means turn 2, you often put like 10, 11 damage into their base. It has got another ability which reads, when you ready cards during a regroup phase, either pay 1 or return this unit to the owner's hand, which is a little bit annoying because you kind of like being taxed to play it out, but that actually helps you more than you may think, because if you play it back to your hand, sure your coordinate goes down for that turn, however you can just play it out, swing for free immediately again. But to be honest, 99% of the time I'm paying the 1 and keeping it out, because that's normally on a 4 resources, so you pay 1, you got 3 left. Because we run a ridiculous amount of low cost units, that paying 1 really doesn't matter too much. That rounds it up for our space units. Let's move on to the events and upgrades. Kicking things off the events and upgrades is a 1 cost, and that is 2 Jam Communications. This card reads, look at the opponent's hand and discard an event from it. Simple, right? Simple, but super disruptive. The reason this card is in this deck is because the Ahsoka deploy turn is super pivotal to us, right? We have to attack with her and do the insane amount of damage. Due to that, normally they've got like an overwhelmed barrage, a no good to me dead, something to slow that Ahsoka up, maybe defeat her or exhaust her. So on that 5 resources, before you deploy her, just pay in 1, scan their hand, get rid of that removal, get rid of that disruption. Brilliant, now I can play my Ahsoka and do the damage. It's just an excellent bit of protection for our Ahsoka. And it's such a nice feeling when you pay this, hit their overwhelmed barrage, see the rest of the hand and knowing full well you're going to get 1, maybe even 2 attacks with your Ahsoka. It's so nice. Moving on to our next 1 cost event and upgrade is free Hotshot DL44 Blaster. So this card is an upgrade which reads, attached to a non-vehicle unit. It's also got Smuggle, which you pay it out for free and it's got the cunning aspect. You may be thinking, why am I paying it out for free? That is because if you smuggle it, it is one of the best upgrades in this game, and that is because when played using Smuggle, attack with that chosen unit. So attach and attack immediately with the boost, which is a +2 to the power. What is insanely strong is if you've got Coordinate online on your 5 resources, this Ahsoka will be a 6/6, then given a Hotshot Blaster as well, you can attack with an 8 attack leader. Talking of super good upgrades within this deck is our next 1 cost, and that's free Ahsoka Padawan Lightsaber. So it's another upgrade, attach a non-vehicle unit again. It gives it +2 attack, +0 health. However, when played, if attached unit is Ahsoka Tano, you may attack with a unit. So more often than not, your Ahsoka is out, she's a 6/6, pay 1, attach this to Ahsoka, attack the base for 8, and then the following turn, you've got an 8/6 Ahsoka, smuggle out Hotshot, hit for 10, meaning in 2 attacks you're doing 18 damage with Ahsoka alone. So even though 99% of the time you're going to attach to Ahsoka then attack with Ahsoka, it doesn't actually say you have to attack with the upgraded unit, meaning if you've got a unit out that's quite weak and they're probably going to defeat it, but you know they can't defeat your Ahsoka, attach to Ahsoka, attack with that unit, meaning you've then still got the Ahsoka to attack on top of that. Moving on to our 2 costing events and upgrades is free Breaking Ins. So this card, attack with a unit. It gets +2 attack and gains Saboteur for this attack. The amount of cards we've got within this deck that either readies up immediately or you play it and attack is just nuts. And not just that, the most important part of this card is that Saboteur text. We honestly super struggle against Sentinels. So being able to just skip past the Sentinels is insanely strong. That is why this card is in here over Surprise Strike. Yes, Surprise Strike does give us that +3, but we don't get the Saboteur, which I'd argue is a lot more important for this deck. And rounding up the main deck is a free cost, that is 2 Waylays. So in short, return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. A nice bit of disruption for you. They play annoying Sentinel out on your Ahsoka deploy turn, then they claim initiative, cool, Waylay it back to your hand, Ahsoka's now going to hit for 6. Or maybe they put a really annoying bounty onto one of your units, actually bounce one of your own cards to your hand, now they lose that bounty. That is it for our main deck. Let's move on to this side deck. Kicking things off with the side deck is a 1 cost that is free Spec Force Soldier. So it's another 1-drop, so if you feel like you haven't got enough of them in this deck, put them in. But the most important reason this card is in this deck isn't its 2 attack, 2 health stat line, is this. When played, a unit loses Sentinel for this phase. That is super important, because as you can tell from me going on about this deck, we don't like Sentinels. So for only 1 cost, removing it can honestly swing games, and due to the 1 cost, you can play him out, make something lose the Sentinel, and still play like 2, maybe even 3 cards. Moving on to our 5 costing side deck options, we've got 2 Chewbaccas. So it's 3 attack, 6 health with Sentinel, and when this unit is attacked, ready him. So he's a nice Sentinel that can keep sponging up attacks, ready up, bang! The reason he's in this deck is because if you're playing something that have really strong units coming out on the 3 and 4 resources, you find to actually sit them around waiting for your Ahsoka to deploy to try and trade into them. So bringing in Chewbacca, he kind of acts like the bodyguard. On your 5 resources, pay him out. Now I have to get through that Chewbacca, meaning your Ahsoka is safe to deploy and get the attack in, and if they don't defeat the Chewbacca in that single attack, ready up, there's another free damage for you. Moving on to the 6 costing side deck option, maybe you're playing a deck that's, slowing you up a little bit. Maybe you're playing a deck that's really close, they're putting a lot of damage onto you, and you're consistently getting to the 6, maybe even 7 resource turn. Bring in 2 Gorilla Attack Pods. So it's 4 attack, 6 health with Grit, so potentially you can get him up to 9 attack, but the reason this card is so good is because when played, if a base has 15 or more damage on it, ready this unit. So 99% of the time when you play this card out, it's going to be readying up, meaning you get to swing immediately, and unless they defeat it with 6 health, which is quite a lot, you're going to often get that Grit activated, meaning you're going to hit for even more. Moving on to our events and upgrades in the side deck is a 3 cost. We've got a 3rd Waylay, just a little bit more disruption for us. And talking of disruption is our next 3 cost in event and upgrades. That's 2 Open Fires. Deal 4 damage to a unit. So if they are playing the Sentinels out, they're playing units that can actually trade for a lot of damage. We can't deal with it. Play this out, get rid of that unit for you. So that is it for our main deck and our side deck. Here is the deck list for those who want it. For final thoughts on this deck, it's a super fun off-meta deck. It can absolutely destroy some decks, and if it gets going, it's so hard to stop. However, it is an off-meta deck, and due to that reason, it can be super fragile. If you get stopped, you can't get the coordinate online, or you're in a world of hurt. But honestly, I've had so much fun within this deck. For matchups, against the aggression matchup, you can actually kind of struggle, because even though you're really fast, they tend to be faster most of the time. However, our biggest power play is actually Sanction a Shuttle. If we get that out against aggression decks, we tend to win. I'm not saying this deck is bad against aggression decks, because it's definitely not, because we can actually trade into big units of our boosted lower units, but it can struggle. Against mid-range decks, if it's mid-range decks without much disruption, we obliterate them. Like, it's not even close. Like, we win before they even know what's happened. However, if they're playing a fair bit of disruption, you can struggle, but you still can win. And against control, we're quite good. Because we're playing so many units, sure, they're playing removal, getting rid of a unit here or there, so coordinate might not always be live. However, because we've got so many units, they just can't deal with it. But the big problem with this deck is honestly Sentinels. Sentinels just destroy this deck. Sentinels with shields especially. Village Protectors, so horrible for us. So that is it for my Ahsoka Tano Snips deck. Don't worry, there will be a Legends of the Force Ahsoka coming very soon, because I know many of you have been requesting it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this deck. What changes would you make? And if you tried it out, how's it been for you? Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what decks I should build next. And hopefully I shall see you in the next one.